In this video, we're going to take a look at how you can create a roster template and apply that to a roster. A roster template is a really useful way of being able to plan your roster out in advance without affecting any of your normal working roster. An example of where you might use a roster template is things like a busy Christmas period, where the roster might look different to how it looks during the year from one week to the next, or maybe in the type of business that has rosters on an event basis. So for example, you've got an event coming up and you can apply a roster for an event and then fill that roster with the relevant employees. The first thing you want to make sure before you start using a roster is that you have roles set up. You can find roles down the bottom left hand corner of the left hand navigation pane. You can see here I've created roles already for things like accounts, cleaner, concierges, cooks, etc. for this bed and breakfast scenario. You can click edit and add more roles as needed, or you can edit the existing roles from this screen as well. To create a new roster template, you click on the roster templates icon at the top and then go to the add button. Start by giving the roster template a name. I'm going to call this roster template 20-person booking. And I'm going to design this one specifically to the guest services location. So I'm going to filter this by location guest services. It looks very similar to the rostering screen. You will be able to realize that you're in the template mode though by this gold bar at the top that says template mode, so you won't get the two confused. You've got to start your roster template by adding a resource. You can add up to 99 at the same time. So let's go add multiple, and I'm going to add 3. So because this is a small business, I know that my first resource is always going to be the same employee, which is the manager. So if I click that resource button, I can choose manager. And I might, for example, assume that Marcus Cook is also always going to be the manager of this location. So I don't need to select a role in this case. Then I click save. And there's Marcus Cook. My second resource is going to be a role. So this will allow me to select on the main roster from any employee that I want to fill that role. Here I'm going to need a concierge. And for my second role, I'm going to need a porter. Now it's a case of filling in the shifts that we want. I can look at this as a day view, a week view, or a fortnight view. So in this step, I might go to a day view because it might be easier for me to assign. So for Marcus, I need to get in there a bit early. So he needs to start at, say, 6:15, and he might finish at 3 o'clock in the afternoon after checkout. The concierge needs to be there by the time that they check in, so I'm going to put the concierge in there at 10 and have him finish at 5. And I'm going to assign the role concierge to this particular shift. I might also limit that to somebody that has an RSA. So let's say they give them a bit of wine on arrival, so they need an RSA license. As well as that, I need a porter to arrive at the same time as check-in, but they're going to have to work a little bit late to help me check out as well. So they're going to start at 10:30 and they're going to finish at, say, 7 PM at night. Just to give you a note that I have to hold back and wait for checkout, I'm going to write a note for this particular role that says, hold off and finish helping out with the guest bags. That'll eventually be assigned to the particular employee. I'm going to choose porter as my role there as well and click save. So that's my day for Monday. If I go back to week view, there are the shifts that I've assigned. I can, of course, keep filling that in for the entire week, but I'm going to leave it there as one day for the sake of brevity. If I wanted to, I could delete all 3 shifts, and just like the main roster, I can click on that and delete one shift at a time as well. Now that I've set up my roster template, I'm going to go into my main roster screen and apply this template. I'm going to change my filter view to be guest services. And at this stage as well, just make sure if you are applying a filter that you've got all roles selected. If you've used a role in the roster template screen that isn't available in your filter, it won't show up at all. So just make sure you're showing all roles at this stage. From here, if you want to apply the roster template, say to this Monday, we can go to roster templates, go down to our one that has the 20-person booking showing, and it's got the 3 shifts that we've got set up, and click apply. We can apply it to the roster from the 20th of the 11th, and it'll follow the same order as how I've got it set up in the roster template. This gives us the option that says when a shift cannot be created for an employee, create it as an unassigned shift. So let's say Marcus, the manager, was away on leave or he had unavailability set on this particular day. It'll reassign him to the unassigned shift section of the roster and allow us to allocate that shift to somebody else. Go ahead and click apply when you're ready. As we scroll down on this Monday shift, you'll see that Marcus has his shift assigned as based on the roster template. And as we scroll further down to the bottom, you'll see that we've now got this select an employee option. These were for the 2 shifts that had the role that we'd selected, where we're looking for somebody with an RSA. We can use this option now to say no employee selected to give us a recommended list of employees. These are the employees, of course, that have that RSA qualification. I'm going to choose Elliot. For this employee, it didn't have a qualification requirement, so when I look at the list, I can choose anybody I like. I'm going to choose Ellen. Remember, it had that note assigned, so now Ellen will get that note when we publish these shifts eventually. So now let's look at our roster for the Monday. And you can now see that we've got Ellen, Elliot, and Marcus based on our roster template all ready to go for our 20-person booking. That's how we create and apply a roster template. In the next video, we'll look at how to set and apply a budget.